Okay, welcome everybody to this webinar presentation, Discover LanguageCert Academic. It's really nice to be able to chat to you all today, and you're very welcome. Somebody has just asked a question about the presentation is being recorded, and somebody asked a question about whether it will be shared. I believe it will. Okay, so we'll continue. So just to introduce myself, my name is Laura Patterson. I'm a senior product manager here in the languages department at LanguageCert. I'm going to be talking through the first bit of the presentation today to introduce who we are, what we do, and talk a little bit about the LanguageCert portfolio of test products. Then I'll hand over to my colleague Kathy Jones, who's an academic associate here at LanguageCert, and she has responsibility for the development of the LanguageCert Academic test that we're talking about today. I'll then take over again a little bit later on in the presentation and talk to you about some things like test delivery, security, and how you could work with us as a partner. Okay, this is our sort of presentation agenda for today. I won't read through every bit, but just to highlight that we will have a question and answer session at the end. And I'd really encourage you to post any questions that you have and want to be able to ask us at the end into the Q&A box that you should be able to see on your screen. So if you hit that, just whenever anything that you want to ask comes to mind, please just start sending those questions through, just so we're not trying to read them all right at the end. Okay, so who are we and what do we do? Well, I mentioned LanguageCert that we work for, and LanguageCert is actually part of a bigger organization called PeopleCert. And PeopleCert is a leader in the certification of people worldwide. So PeopleCert was founded in 2000 and since then has delivered over 700 qualifications, particularly in the business and IT assessment industry. Since 2015, we've also produced language assessment products, which are taken around the world. And we really pride ourselves in making assessment accessible to all. So that's by having different flexible delivery options to ensure that we can test people's English in every corner of the globe without the need to compromise on the really important things like exam security, integrity, and validity. So LanguageCert has a portfolio of English test products that are designed for specific purposes or for different contexts and different needs, such as education, professional and migration purposes. We're an Ofqual regulated organisation, and we also hold a number of government recognitions around the world. And I know that many of you are interested in or have an interest in test taking for the purposes of migrating to the UK. So our ESOL test is recognised by the UK Home Office for migration purposes. So our international ESOL test can be taken for UK VI purposes. We're also trusted by a large number of universities and other higher education institutions around the globe to help them make admissions decisions about people applying to their universities, and also for use in university exit tests as well. We hold a large number of memberships, as you can see on the right hand side of the screen there, and we're really proud to be able to maintain those memberships. This is just a snapshot of some of the world-renowned universities and other higher education organisations that recognise our tests, and you can find out more about who recognises our tests on the LanguageCert website. So when I talk about the LanguageCert portfolio, what do I mean by that? So I essentially mean that we've got a portfolio of test products that for use in different contexts and for people's needs that satisfy people's own needs. So for example, we have test products for young learners to test their English from age 7. We have tests that are suitable for secondary school age students and those looking to move into a higher education context. And also we have English language assessments for work, for use in a work context. And as I mentioned before, for migration as well. You'll notice at the bottom of the screen, there's a couple of test products that we have there that are not English language products, but for other languages. So we have a test of classical Greek and also a Spanish language test as well, which is ESOL. So this is our portfolio. It's a growing portfolio, and we're really pleased today to be able to focus in and talk about LanguageCert Academic, which is a new test within the portfolio. Before Kathy talks in more depth about the LanguageCert Academic test itself, I know many of you here today are already familiar with the LanguageCert International ESOL exam, and because this new LanguageCert Academic exam is for use is for study purposes in English medium environments, just wanted to call out what some of the differences are between the two tests, just so that's clear before we go into the main bit of the presentation. So our International ESOL exam is taken around the globe, and it's used for a number of purposes in a number of different contexts, so study, work, and personal development, for personal development purposes as well. The LanguageCert Academic test has been specifically designed for the academic context, okay? So it's and for use at undergraduate, postgraduate, professional levels of study. Another difference is that the LanguageCert Academic test is multi-level, so it's the same test but reports at different CEFR levels, from B1 up to C2, whereas the International ESOL exam is a single level test, so candidates will decide whether they want to take, for example, a B2 or a C1 level test, and there are pass and fail grades within that. Both tests are taken under secure conditions, but the LanguageCert Academic test is being delivered through our large network of prometric test centres, which essentially means that it's being taken under the same conditions that the CELT tests for UKVI are also taken. Whereas the LanguageCert International ESOL test is taken through our LanguageCert approved test centre partners. We offer online live proctoring for our International ESOL exam, and within the next couple of months we're also going to be offering live proctoring for the LanguageCert Academic test as well, which essentially means that people can take the test from home or from another place if they don't have access to a test centre or would prefer to take it online. And the CELT version of the International ESOL exam, of ESOL, LanguageCert ESOL, is UKVI approved for use for people who want to migrate to the UK. And I just wanted to flag that while we're not there yet, LanguageCert are very soon going to be going to the UK Home Office to apply for the LanguageCert Academic test to also be UKVI approved. So in which case it could then be used for migration purposes to the UK. And there are different, because the LanguageCert Academic test is for study purposes, and we know that students need visas often to study in English speaking countries. I just wanted to make it clear, because there's a distinction between the tests students need to obtain a student visa, depending on the level of study that they wish to study in. So, for example, students wishing to study at degree level or above, so undergraduate level or above, need to achieve a minimum CEFR level of B2, and they can take either a CELT qualification, like CELT, the ESOL CELT version, or they can take a non-CELT qualification. So until now, we have had the international ESOL exam, both the test centre and online version that they could take. We are now adding to our portfolio the LanguageCert Academic test, so they would also be able to take this test for the purposes of university entrance in the UK. And this is because universities essentially sponsor students for their student visa. So that's why a CELT exam is not needed. If the student is wishing to study in the UK below degree level, so for example on a foundation, pathway or pre-sessional course, then they require B1 level, and this must be a CELT exam. So this is where our LanguageCert International ESOL CELT exam could be used. And of course, we hope to share news with you soon of LanguageCert Academic being approved for UK VI purposes, in which case then that would be able to be used for a student visa for studying below degree level as well. So just wanted to make those distinctions clear, and about the purpose and the context in which the LanguageCert Academic test can be used. I'm now going to hand over to Kathy to talk you through the test itself.
Thanks, Laura. So yeah, I'm Kathy, and I've been working on the development of LanguageCert Academic. And for the next section of this webinar, I'm just going to give you a short overview of the test. I'm going to outline, give some more detail beyond what Laura said about how and why the test has come about, and let you know some of its key features and benefits. So as part of a kind of intro, something I usually say, having worked in assessment for a long time myself, is that assessment usually gets a bit of a bad press. It's often seen as the kind of the dry end of the teaching and learning spectrum. But unsurprisingly, as someone who works in assessment, it's something that I'm really passionate about. And I think it's helpful for me to kind of outline how I sit here and say that. And I think it's because at its most fundamental level, assessment, testing, that is, it really matters. What we're talking about in these slides are things that the outcomes of assessment, which really affect people's life chances. So we often say, oh, qualifications open doors, in the sense that candidates take high stakes exams to access life-changing opportunities such as university admission or migration for work. So we can say that in the same way that a door, you open a door and that's providing access to a new room or space, a qualification can provide access to higher education, career opportunities, experiences, and other communities. I'm speaking as the mum of someone going through his GCSEs at the moment, so this is particularly important. And you know, assessment of all kinds can have a transformative effect on a transformative impact really on the life chances of individuals. Coming from this point of view, therefore, I think it's fair to say that we have an ethical and moral responsibility to ensure that as these powerful gateways to learning experiences and personal growth and professional development, we have this acute responsibility to make sure, as Laura says, that our exams are of integrity, that is, that they're reliable, secure, and fit for purpose. So if we go back to this door metaphor, and you think, well, you've got this door, you need to make sure that it's checked regularly, make sure it's not squeaky, it's not sticking, it's not jammed, it's well oiled, it's a good fit, it hasn't shrunk or expanded over time, that it's well kept, up to date, nicely painted, and in keeping with the surroundings. And you can apply that analogy exactly to what we've done here with LanguageCert Academic. So in designing or redesigning a test for a high stakes context like university admissions, there's a whole load of different considerations that we have to take into account, comprising all sorts of things: test validity, reliability, practicality, ethics, commercial interests, pedagogical value, and positive impact. We want our tests to be reliable, secure, and fit for purpose, non-negotiable. It's a competitive market. There are lots of other qualifications out there, established providers as well as new entrants. So we need to make sure that we can stand alongside these tests. So we have to make sure that our tests are innovative, user-friendly, and fast. So that's just the little backdrop to what I'm going to the background I'm going to give you now about the qualification. So Laura, if you're able to just move on to the next slide. So we've already said it's designed specifically for higher education admissions, for those wanting to study in higher education in an English-speaking environment. We're talking about a global candidature, and the qualification we see primarily being used for admission purposes to universities running English medium courses. Test takers will need general academic language proficiency and skills. What do we mean by general academic language proficiency and skills? I think we're referring to the type of language that students are exposed to at university, college, foundation, pathway programs, and in the first years of university. It's generic because it's not specific to any academic subject or domain. And we want to test competencies that will be used across common academic tasks. So things like writing essays, writing extended responses, giving presentations, engaging in discussions. So what we've done is we've taken the IESOL C1 qualification as a starting point, and we've created a test for the academic context by adding explicitly academic content and developing a multi-level rather than a single level test. So LanguageCert Academic scores across the relevant levels, with results reported on our 0 to 100 point global scale for each of the 4 skills. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about that later on. So if you're able to just pop on to the next one, Laura. What makes LanguageCert Academic academic? So this is just to outline the 3 main strands or pillars to what make this test academic. So the context, academic or academic related context. These include discussions with tutors, students, university officials, lectures, seminars, all the kind of interactions, the day-to-day interactions you'd expect at university. We've taken authentic source materials, the kind of stuff that students are going to encounter, articles, journals, reports, crafted to provide reliable and valid assessment. The task types, the content types are specifically designed to sample the features of language and skills from this academic target language domain, those required to succeed in an academic setting. And we're thinking about the kind of things here like critical thinking, evaluation, inference, presentation giving, note giving, ability to formulate an argument, make an application, and to interact with tutors, friends, academic staff. The test itself this is where it gets slightly complex. The test itself needs to have high levels of predictive validity. So the test needs to be able to give us an indication to measure how well we think a student will be able to cope with the general academic language requirements for undergraduate or postgraduate study. We need to be careful not to stray into testing an assumed knowledge of living and functioning and being in an academic context. So there's a line there between checking aptitude in terms of predictive validity and assuming knowledge of all these things. Levels, in terms of the level, I've said it's a multi-level rather than a single level test, and this LanguageCert Academic spans B1 to C2, those levels that are critical in supporting receiving institutions to decide whether or not a student's going to be able to cope with the academic demands of university. Our definition, I talked about the academic target language domain, what the student really needs to be able to do in the real world, that is the skills, knowledge, competencies that they're going to require to be successful and to thrive in an academic context, is absolutely critical to our construct. So it's this definition that we have developed for this test, which shapes all aspects of the test design, the associated learning and preparation materials, as well as our ongoing research and validation to make sure that we've got it right. It's a definition that absolutely has to be based on real-world knowledge and experience of test takers, our candidates, the environment, and we need to validate this on an ongoing basis to make sure that we've got it right and our tests are valid. Our test specifications and our assessment criteria are all designed to ensure that we're sampling this target language domain, the skills and knowledge, in appropriate depth and breadth. I've mentioned we're also creating learning materials which support the test. So these are going to include practice questions, mock tests, and learning activities to help learners build skills, confidence. And it's this definition that connects the learning and preparation materials with the test itself. So if we've got our definition right and it's relevant and it's accurate, we know that the learners, through using our practice and preparation self-access materials to hone the skills they need to take LanguageCert Academic, are actually going to be preparing the skills that they need to flourish in higher education. And I have a bit of an analogy that I use here that is a bit dubious, but it works for me. And it's when I was preparing to, I was an older learner driver, and living in Cambridge, I never needed a car because I cycled everywhere. But when it came to my turn to learn to drive, there was one particular thing I had to do, which was reversing around a corner. And it completely floored me. I found reversing around a corner so hard, looking in the mirror, going this way, that way, to keep on practicing it. And I don't think I have ever reversed around a corner since the driving test. But my dad says that's a very dubious analogy, and actually that's a good skill. But it's that we wouldn't want learners to go away and be practicing to do something that actually is going to serve no real benefit once they get to university. We want the washback of LanguageCert Academic to be enabling students to get into that context by preparing the skills for the test. The test isn't an unnecessary hurdle. It's all part of a preparation to move to a new opportunity and a new space and to take that on. It's a really important part of what we're doing is designing assessments that promote this idea of positive washback, and measuring the intended impact of this washback is really important. It's all very well to say we're intending to do it, but I think it's emphatically non-negotiable that we do this. So that's where our research and validation is going to be absolutely essential. So delivering an assessment without trying to understand or measure any intended or unintended consequences is it's not something we want to be able to do this. So our ongoing research programs assure that we are keep watching what's going on and measuring any intended and unintended impact of what we're doing. And we're working with CRELA on this strand of our research. So the next slide gives us a bit more information about the role that research has played in this kind of evidence-informed qualification. So if you're able to just move on to the next one, Laura, that'd be great. Thank you. So this visual kind of shows how all the research that we have used to create this evidence-informed qualification has worked. So if you know about assessment, there is a breadth of assessment research out there. And there's assessment research that we have been carrying out at LanguageCert into our existing portfolio. So obviously we've taken a lot of interest in what we have learned and the best of what we know about the ESOL suite of qualifications that we already offer. So we have our own research that we've been doing there. There's the wider underpinning assessment research, and then there's a body of research that is going to be specifically and is specifically for LanguageCert Academic. So we are building on the best of what we already do, as well as drawing on the best research and best practice out there to evaluate and revise and devise this test for an enhanced academic context. So our research impacts on our purpose, the proficiency levels, the construct, the tasks, the content, our assessment criteria, the test delivery, reporting, quality assurance. We've taken an evidence-informed approach to all of these things. So if you see this wider underpinning assessment research as the cradle on which we've built LanguageCert Academic, and the ongoing findings, the ongoing research that we're generating feeds back into our LanguageCert portfolio of research, as well as back into the wider underpinning bed of assessment research that is out there. I think it's fair to say that test development is complex and it's scientific, but it shouldn't be some kind of secret alchemy or shrouded in mystery. Our assessment research isn't an academic abstraction. It's not that we have this test and you do some research on the side. It's completely integrated into our test development processes. And our research is going to be publicly available, providing evidence of the quality of what we're doing and how we're doing it, and the caliber of the materials, as well as the associated research for all our stakeholders. And I've put a link there to our kind of quarterly research digest, if you like, where we're just flagging key pieces of research, ways you can get involved. So I'd really encourage you to have a look at that and subscribe if you would like to receive those kind of updates. And the LanguageCert Academic, as well as the sister LanguageCert General qualification, are a focus for our current research, and we're going to be flagging things like that in that newsletter. So do take a look. But I've just given an example here of some of our ongoing work already for LanguageCert Academic. So we've got test calibration, internal validation activities. We're doing a major concordance study comparing results in LanguageCert Academic with IELTS. And at the moment, I think we've got, we'll have about 1,200 candidates by the end of this research piece, and they're taking both exams. We're looking at their performance in both of them, from 40 different countries. Crella are leading this piece. And we're working with UK ECTIS and ENIC on an external CEFR alignment and validation exercise, as well as some mapping underway to the Canadian language benchmarks. So, you know, this isn't just us saying the test is good, it's working with external people, external researchers to collate a picture and to make sure that our metaphorical door to these new opportunities is completely fit for purpose. So the next slide just gives us an overview of what the test actually looks like. So it's a four-skill test: listening, reading, writing, speaking. In the listening, all the content is heard twice. There are a variety of different content types. Same in the reading. The writing are extended response task. The speaking is conducted by a human interlocutor, a really important feature of a test of communicative language ability. And the speaking test includes topic-based questions, role-play activities, a read aloud passage, and the opportunity to give a presentation as well. And then if you hop on to the next slide, we're just going to have a quick look at the test report for LanguageCert Academic. And you can see here that the candidate results for each skill are reported on our LanguageCert global scale. The global scale is important. It's aligned to the 6 levels of the CEFR, A1 to C2. And through this alignment, it's used to compare to other tests. So if you take the CEFR as the international standard, then you can make these comparisons, which we'll see on the next slide with IELTS, with other tests used for study and migration, which is really important. CEFR levels are huge. They're big chunks of language learning. The advantage of a 0 to 100 global scale is that what happens is that you get a finer granularity. So you can see where a learner is in each of the skills in relation to that huge chunk of CEFR level. We also provide an overall CEFR level, as well as individualized candidate performance feedback for speaking, for the productive skills. So for speaking and writing, for each of the assessment criteria, the test report also includes some prose narrative for each criteria on how well the candidate has met each one of those assessment criteria. So the next slide just has an idea here of how you can see how the global scale aligns with the CEFR levels, where the academic levels fit in relation to the CEFR on our global scale, and where IELTS is coming out against our test. And this is ongoing research work. This is hot off the press as a result of our concordance study. And that's an ongoing thing. It isn't going to be something that just happens once. It's something that we keep in check on an ongoing basis to make sure that when that test report is issued, the result is accurate and meaningful for receiving institutions, candidates, to the benefit of everybody. So I think that was all I was going to say about the LanguageCert Academic qualification. I hope that's given you a flavour of what we have set out to do with this particular development. Candidates prepare for this kind of this test, we want to be confident, and I hope I've given you confidence that candidates are preparing the right skills, honing the right cognitive processes from the target language domain that we've identified, so such as analysing, evaluating, applying, constructing, understanding, everything they're going to need for academic success, but not a test of what happens at university, not a test of how a seminar works, but a test of aptitude to develop the right skills, the right communicative languages competence to be able to unlock the metaphorical door and gain access to new learning spaces, new opportunities, as a springboard to success. So I'm going to hand back to Laura now, who's just going to talk us through the test delivery processes. I'll continue to encourage you just to add anything to the question and answer box if you have anything that you'd like to say, and Laura and I will take the questions at the end. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Kathy. Okay, so now we've learned a lot about the test itself. I want to talk to you just briefly about how the test is delivered. So the test is, as we said previously, available globally. Candidates, so our website is currently being updated, but within the next couple of days, the LanguageCert website will have a dedicated area for LanguageCert Academic. And within that, candidates can actually book, they can search for the test centre closest to them, where they would like to take their test, and they can book their test directly through the LanguageCert website. Okay. And there's a scheduling tool for making sure that the times that are going to be suitable for each candidate are available for them. The test is available to take at one of our Prometric secure test centres, which is an existing network over 115 countries around the world. And we're also looking to grow this network as well, which I'll talk about in a moment. The test will also be, as I said previously, available online with live remote proctoring. That's something that will be available within the next couple of months, so please do keep looking out for that. You know, this is an established live remote proctoring process through which we already really successfully deliver other exams, such as the International ESOL, such as the LanguageCert Test of English. And so, you know, we have real confidence in the way this works, but I will talk a little bit more in detail about it in a moment in relation to security. And, you know, as I said previously, we're really proud of the flexibility that we offer around test delivery, because we know that because we want as many people as possible to be able to access our tests. And so one of the things that we know is important to candidates, or can be important to candidates, is the ability to be able to take each part of an exam or qualification on the same day. So for those candidates who wish or need to travel to a test centre to take a test centre exam, certainly in the next until the online proctoring is available, we know that sometimes people need to travel to do so, and therefore there is a requirement for people to be able to take both the written and spoken components within a short time period on the same day. And so we facilitate that. And the only requirement really in terms of taking the two components is that both components must be taken within 14 days of one another. So that's just an example of the flexibility that we offer. And results are issued within just 5 working days from the day of the last component being taken. And this just means that those recognising institutions can start making those important admissions decisions within days of the test being taken. And within the next couple of months also, we'll be announcing our enhanced verification system going live as well. And this just means that candidates can automatically, or results can automatically be shared with as many recognising institutions as the candidate wants, and they can list out all the academic institutions that they want their results shared with before even taking the test, which means that the results are with the academic, the recognising institution as soon as they're available. Okay, so I just wanted to talk to you a little bit about test security, because it's something that's incredibly important to us. We know it's important to you as well, and it's also so important to those institutions that put their confidence in us and recognise our exams. So we've got two different delivery methods, because we pride ourselves on being as flexible as possible. And these are tried and tested delivery methods. So as we said before, we have a network of secure test centres that are run by Prometric. We also have online tests with live remote proctoring, which means that students or candidates can take the test from their own home. But security is never compromised by having these different delivery methods. So security always has to be as good as it can be, no matter what the delivery method. I'm not going to read out to you here all the different ways we ensure security of our tests, but I do just want to pick out a couple just to give you a sense of the rigour with which we ensure our tests are secure. So, for example, when tests are taken at a test centre, students must provide a digital signature, and a photo is taken of them just prior to their the test starting, and this can then be compared. This is then compared with the ID, the photo ID that, for example, the passport that they have provided. The test day photo that's taken of them, you know, in their seat, ready to take their test, is also then appears on their test report, which is the test report that can be sent to, you know, automatically shared with the recognising organisation, the university to which the candidate's applying, just so that that recognising organisation has, you know, an increased level of confidence that the person that they are wanting to admit onto their course of study is the person that took the test and has that level of English. Another thing I just wanted to highlight is the fact that when a student or candidate is taking the test, they cannot do anything else on that computer. So it's impossible for the desktop is locked down, so that the candidate can only access the exam player, and they cannot open any browsers or other applications at all, and things obviously like spell check, etc., are disabled. So those are just a couple of the measures that we have in place to ensure maximum security at test centres. When the test is taken online with a live remote proctor, it is continuously proctored by a real person, and that person is trained and employed directly by PeopleCert. This is something that gives us, and you know, everybody invested in the test, yourselves, the candidates, our recognising institutions. It gives us the confidence that the test is consistently proctored in the same way, and it's that consistency that helps us to you know, ensure that each test instance, every test experience, is as secure as the next. We also, you know, as well as investing in people, we have invested in the latest technology to ensure that we can, you know, maximise test security. So, for example, we have full ID checks with Know Your Customer technology. It's written there as KYC. And this includes KYC technology is essentially a biometric solution to enhance ID validation processes. And it really uses the same technology that's used at, for example, at customs in airports. So as you can imagine, it's things like checking that the live image of the person on the screen, that the test taker, is a biometric match to the photo image on the person, on the ID that's been presented. It also checks the ID against a global ID document database in order to validate authenticity. It collects voice samples for voice matching, excuse me, voice matching against our candidate database, which assists in detection of proxy attempts, for example. And it also alerts us if the ID has been used before with another candidate. So, you know, it's not just one thing that we have in place, it's a whole load of things that we put in place to ensure maximum test security, and we're always reviewing this. Wanted to talk a little bit about what the benefits are of LanguageCert Academic, both for you and your students or the candidates with which you are involved. So we have a number of existing and very successful partnership schemes that we use with, that are in place for other test products. So these are, we have a LanguageCert Examinations Partner Scheme. This is a voucher-based partnership scheme where, sorry, excuse me, where partners can purchase vouchers for our exams at a discounted price and then sell them on to candidates. This is already available for our CELT exams and other online exams, but we are expanding this to LanguageCert Academic as well. We also have a LanguageCert Examinations registration partner type, which is a referral-based partnership scheme whereby we issue promotional codes for our exams. And once that promotional code has been applied to a purchase of a test by a candidate, the referral partner or the exam registration partner will be compensated for the consumption of that particular test. As well as these two existing partnership schemes for LanguageCert Academic, we are we plan, as I said before, to hugely expand our test centre network so that we can reach even more people and give even more people the option to take a test centre test at a time that's convenient for them. And so we are offering test delivery partnership opportunities. So partners or anybody on the call who would like to become a partner and to become a secure test centre partner will need to meet specific technical and premises requirements similar to those that are required by our prometric test centres that deliver the CELT UKVI qualifications. If you think that this is something that your organisation would be interested in and could accommodate, please contact your local business development manager if you know who they are and have a communication channel with them, or please contact me directly and I can put you in touch with the right person to have that conversation. We'd really welcome any expressions of interest about this. Okay, just wanted to highlight some of the things that we already have in place to support partners. So, for example, partners are promoted through listings on our LanguageCert website. If you were to become a test delivery partner, obviously, if a candidate goes to book a test through the website, you would come up your organisation would come up as a secure test centre in our network, and they would be able to book directly through us. We provide access to a dedicated partners area, which has things like access to specific marketing materials, preparation material and academic support. And we also have a dedicated business development team around the globe, and also a 24/7 customer support offering as well. So just a really quick recap before we go on to questions. So why choose LanguageCert Academic? I mean, Kathy talked through this in great detail. So obviously it has an enhanced academic focus. It's widely accessible through our secure test centre network, and within the next couple of months will also be available to be taken online as well. We have a very easy online booking system where you can schedule your test. And it's a really friendly and accessible test experience. We deliver quick results in just 5 working days from the day that the last component of the test was taken. And as Kathy mentioned earlier, we are really pleased to be able to offer, as part of the results, a test report that includes personalised feedback for speaking and writing. And again, as I mentioned, we have an enhanced verification system, which is going to be going live in the next couple of months as well, which just allows for really easy and automated sharing of results with as many recognising organisations, universities, etc., as the candidate needs to share it with. And we have a wide range of preparation materials. Kathy touched on some of these, and I put coming soon because it's something that we will be expanding a lot over the coming months. Okay, I think that's everything from us. We've had some questions through, so I'm just going to have a quick look at some of those.
Do you want me to start off? Or?
Yes, please, Kathy, if that's okay.
Okay. So one question came in asking what really is the difference between LanguageCert Academic and the IESOL. So the primary difference is that LanguageCert Academic is developed for the academic context. The IESOL CELT is a test of general academic English. It does include some language for an academic purpose, but it isn't specifically for an academic purpose. And tests of general academic English aren't always appropriate for tests of academic English. And I hope that came through a bit more in my presentation. But the skills we have defined as being those that will really support LanguageCert Academic test takers to flourish at university are enhanced in the LanguageCert Academic test. Another key difference is LanguageCert Academic is multi-level. So it's spanning 4 CFR levels. There is content in the test that is designed to elicit the best possible performance for candidates at each one of those levels. You have an opportunity to show what you know and can do. Whereas the IESOL test cover 1 level. So you would enter for the level that you think you are, the level you've prepared, which is perfectly good and it's fit for purpose. But LanguageCert Academic is slightly more practical, and you have that opportunity. Say you're on the cusp, say you're a high B2, you could instead of entering for the B2 test with knowledge that you will get your B2, you stand a chance of getting C1. Likewise, C1 we can award at C2. This is what I mean in response to feedback from stakeholders. That was something that I think candidates and qualification users really wanted to see. So they're the 2 kind of principal differences between the 2 qualifications. And as Laura said, we hope to be able to announce that the LanguageCert Academic is UKVI approved very soon. Another question that came up was, could you revisit something about the learning and preparation materials? Laura touched on this again at the end and said this is something that's in development. I think this is one of the most exciting things about the LanguageCert Academic qualification is the development that's been underway on a suite of integrated practice and preparation materials. So these there are two purposes to practice and preparation materials. So preparation, as in being familiar with the content types, how that online test works. So that's the kind of, marked mock test approach. And we will have those resources available for candidates for this test. Right through to our development is envisaging a suite of self-access online preparation materials, which incorporate lots of really interesting stuff about personalized learning, responsive learning paths, and right through to envisaging for the future a kind of digital marketplace for different learning objects. So you would, it would be identified that perhaps you could do with some particular support on this, and as a paid for extra you will be able to hook up with a tutor who specializes in that and organize sessions. This is some way ahead, but it's on our roadmap, and the fact that the development of that is integrated with the development of the test, all linked to the same test construct, which as we saw is research informed, I think makes a very strong proposition. So watch this space for the learning materials.
Yeah, I'll just follow up on that a little bit. So somebody's asked us a kind of linked question. So they've said, can you let us know how to register for a test and from where can a student practice for the test? So just to be clear that, as I said, we're just updating the website at the moment, but in the next couple of days that will go live, and there will be some practice and preparation materials on the site for students that is free, public access, and we will be adding to that over time, as well as the kind of paid for offering that's that will come eventually, that Kathy spoke about as well. So everything will be accessed through the website within the next few days, so please do go and check in on that. And that's also where students will go to register for a test. I think some of these questions potentially came through before we delivered certain slides, but just to reiterate, in case anybody missed it, the online booking system for the test is integrated within the website itself. There'll be a dedicated area to LanguageCert Academic that has all the product information that a candidate or anybody interested in the test knowing more about it would want to know, including practical information about the test day itself, and also obviously that key button where you can click book a test. And it's a really nice, simple tool to use as well, the test booking section. So yeah, all through the website. Sorry, I'm just looking through the questions here.
There's a question about the experience in the spoken test in comparison with the IESOL equivalent. I can take that one. I think we're running out of time, so this might be the last one we've got time for, but they're similar tests conducted by a human marker interlocutor. However, for the academic test experience is wholly rooted in our academic context, the academic construct. So the scenarios are interactions with fellow students, with tutors, and it includes a presentation for which the stimulus material requires synthesis of information from different places. Be quite careful to make sure it isn't like a graph reading test. For somebody hopeless at maths like me, you don't want it to become some sort of mind-boggling selection of numbers. So we've tried to create something which is more of a kind of infographic, which gives the candidate an opportunity to synthesize information from different places and construct their argument. Another key difference is that in the academic test, we've included a task which involves reading aloud a passage. So very much replicating what you might find in a sort of informal seminar situation, where you're studying a text. Laura, could you just read out the first paragraph, and then you start to talk about it. So they have 30 seconds to read through a short passage. They then read it aloud, and then the interlocutor selects from a number of different follow-up questions to just kind of tease out what the candidates understood by the passage that they've read. So those are the key differences between the tests. But once our samples are available, do take a look and see what you think.
Thanks, Kathy. I'll just take one more question. Somebody's asked about price and whether the prices will. Let me just see. I hope the student materials will be affordable price-wise for our students. So we've worked really hard on the pricing to make sure that the test is priced right. We have made sure it is competitively priced in the market, and we have also ensured that it is no more expensive than any of our current tests as well. So again, I can't tell you the price because it will depend where in the world you are. So please, in the next couple of days, do go and check back on the website, and you'll be able to see the price for your market. But we've worked really hard to make sure that it is affordable and competitively priced, against our competitors and compared with our own other test products as well. Yeah. Okay, I think we better wrap up there because we're out of time. Thank you so much to everyone who attended. We'll have a quick whiz through the questions list again, and if we didn't get to any of them, we will make sure we share the answers to those with you. And also, I believe the recording will be shared afterwards as well. I know somebody had to drop off a little bit of the way through, so and ask for it to be shared. So thank you so much for attending. Please do check back in on the website in a few days' time to get to know more about the test, and please do get in contact if you're interested in any of the partnership opportunities that we mentioned earlier. Thank you so much.
Thank you.